Well, we're going to invite our friend Dr. Stephanie Jeter up here to do a little dancing. She's a prize-winning flat-footer clogger. This is an old tune from Lily Mae Ledford, who is a great musician from Powell County, Kentucky, in the Red River Gorge there. And it's called Christmas Eve. Thank y'all so much for putting up with us. Silas is one of my teachers at Berea College and has become a real great friend of mine. And this is a song by Robin and Linda Williams called Don't Let Me Come Home a Stranger. Nice thing for Christmas time, to have somewhere to go home to.
Thought of friends and the home I had, and all those things I left behind.
A silent star shone on me, my eyes saw the far horizon, as if to pierce this veil of time and escape this earthly prison. Will there come a time when the memories fade and pass on with the long, long years, when the ties no longer bind? Lord, save me from this darkest fear. Don't let me come home a stranger. I couldn't stand to be a stranger. So far from home, they know my name, but they don't know me. They hear my voice, they see my face, but they can lay no claim on me. Will there come a time when the memories fade and pass on with the long, long years, when the ties no longer bind? Lord, save me from this darkest fear. Don't let me come home a stranger. I couldn't stand to be a stranger. As I walk these city streets, I free my mind and drift away. I wander through my Cletomans until I finally find my place. Will there come a time when the memories fade and pass on with the long, long years, when the ties no longer bind? Lord, save me from this darkest fear. Don't let me come home a stranger. I couldn't stand to be a stranger. Silas House and Jason Howard.
This is from a story of mine called When She Came to Mercy. It's in a book called A Kentucky Christmas that has a whole lot of Kentucky authors in it if you might want to check it out. Mercy stood on her back stoop for a moment with her eyes closed, breathing in the smell of December. It was too cold to be doing this, but she had always loved the clean scent of snow, the metallic tang of winter. She breathed in through her nose, but the air was so cold that it settled in her teeth, causing them to ache. She didn't care. It's a day made of ice, she thought. Mercy opened her eyes and looked out on her backyard. The world was blinding today in spite of the gray sky, which shone above like the back of a shovel. Snow drifted down like damp feathers, so slowly that it seemed it might never touch the ground. The sun was a perfectly round plate of silver, seen briefly through streaks of clouds. The trees were black against the whiteness, and the only hint of color was that of a red bird who flitted around on the snow. It pecked at the frozen ground and then threw its head high as if swallowing. Mercy couldn't imagine what it might have found to eat. There was nothing but snow. Even the creek was covered in it, stacked up on the sheet of ice that had formed there. She was 70 years old and had never seen the creek freeze in December before, but it had this year, and it wasn't even Christmas yet. People were saying it was because of the century turning. They said the weather was showing that the end of the world was nigh. She held onto the porch post with one hand and the coal bucket with the other, then stepped down into the yard. The snow came up to the tops of her boots, frosting the hem of her long skirt. She listened to the crunch beneath her feet and regretted having to track up the snow. She loved it when the whiteness went undisturbed. Before her boots made their marks, there was nothing but the tracks of the little red bird to give away the fact that life still stirred between these mountains. The cow had not found it necessary to make its way past the door of the little barn, and the chickens were quiet in their house. Mercy made her way toward the lean-to that covered her coal pile. The wind had piled a drift all around, so she took the coal shovel from its nail and grudgingly pushed the snow away. The coal was beautiful, black and solid and rich. She wanted to feel her hands on it, so she put the shovel aside and pushed the chunks into the bucket. Her work made a pleasant ring against the metal of the bucket. And then she sensed some movement on the mountain. She thought it might be a deer coming down to hunt for water. She squinted her eyes and focused on a red coat slowly stumbling near the cliffs halfway down the mountainside. She couldn't tell if it was a woman or a child, too small for a man. Mercy became very still and could hear feet stamping in the snow. Each footfall made a crack like wood splintering. "Up yonder," she called. "You'll freeze to death up on that mountain." The red coat made its way on down the mountain slowly, careful not to slip on the frozen rocks, and when it came out of the trees, Mercy could see that it was a girl, not more than 16, her black hair covered by a man's fedora. Her hands were buried in the deep pockets of the coat, and her dress was too short, not much longer than the coat, so that her wool stockings showed. Her eyes looked as if she had been crying without shedding tears. Perhaps it was too cold to weep. Her lip trembled and her nose was so pink it was close to turning blue. "Ma'am," the girl said, as if out of breath, "help me."
Coming up, more of Red Barn Radio's production of An Appalachian Christmas 6, recorded live from the Performance Hall at Arts Place in Lexington, Kentucky.